taking you now live to this press conference in Tehran, the spokesperson of Iran's Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Know exactly what is the Iranian point of view regarding the topics that represent our dignity. The national interests for us must be put into their consideration very well, and ignoring these matters will never lead to good results, because they must know that the Iranian people are quite ready to do whatever it takes to reject all demands that are not realistic. In all cases, the comparison says that they are now trying to understand the viewpoints of the Iranian people, but they should be realistic in this matter, and you need not to downgrade the Iranian people. You must know the Iranian people very well, and don't believe that you can impose your opinion on the Iranians. You will never reach a good result. I have asked a friend today regarding this situation, and he gave me an advice to read some books in this connection. One of these books is an author of Dr. Jafari Langrudi, which is the secret behind having Iran strong always. And these matters and the Iranian modern history is quite important to understand the way of the Iranians in this regard. The Western governments must understand that and must try to heal the wounds that they have created, not to increase these wounds. The Western governments must work, as I said, to heal these wounds in the Iranian body. During Dr. Araghchi interview with the CBS TV, he pointed out to Iran's readiness to accept the additional protocol. What is that additional protocol that Iran can accept? And the gun inspection, what can you do in this matter? The additional protocol is generally during the period of the agreement has been accepted voluntarily. That's why we had an experience, and having such a decision voluntarily is connected to other issues, including lifting the economic sanctions, and this must put in mind. The base of this idea is to create a tool to build the trust between both parties regarding the nuclear program that is very peaceful.
حضور آقای گروسی و همینطور ورود مباحث به مرحله فنی از ویژگی‌های دور دوم مذاکرات ایران و آمریکا بودش.
The statements of Mr. Grossi and his attendance during the talks and negotiations, particularly when it comes to the technical matters between Iran and the U.S., despite his presence, there are still some claims that Iran is using this matter for its benefit or buying time. This matter is not true at all. This path, if you are following the path closely whether during the last 5 rounds of talks or this time, our people can see that, and we have mentioned so many times that we need to reach results in this round, and we are ready to cooperate. But talking about these talks and these rounds of negotiations will result in things that we don't accept? No. Buying time is not for the benefit of anyone. We, the Iranian people, we are under pressure of the unfair economic sanctions that are related to the nuclear program. So, ethically, we must get rid of these sanctions as soon as possible, and we can never accept these claims under any circumstances because they are against the path of work that we adopt. Peace be upon you. Recently, an idea of the formal recognition of the Afghanistan government, recognition by Iran, and there are no objections in this regard. People say so. When it comes to the relations between both parties, both sides, do you think Iran has an initiative, clear initiative, to recognize formally the government in Afghanistan and increase the level of diplomatic representation? You have mentioned a good point. The Afghan official who spoke about our relations with Afghanistan, he said that relations are based on mutual interests and culture, conversation and dialogue, and religious also conversation and dialogue. This goes without saying. We have geographical borders, and we have the same points of concern between both parties. We can cooperate together to face all these matters. We need to create security on the border between both countries. We need to tackle the matter of drugs and the issue of water. We need to cooperate in these connections. And when it comes to the recognition, official recognition of the government there, it is on the table, and it is a political matter. When we reach certain solution and certain result, we will definitely tell you through the Iranian Foreign Ministry. Yes, I can hear you. Israel says that there is a new after the end of the voluntary Shiite direction, and how will you deal with such statements, and how Iran is understanding this sort of access between some countries, and regarding what has been said, yes, there is no difference between the Shiites and the Sunnis and the Arabs. During the last years, they have confirmed that they want to control all the region, and from time to time they were proposing the sort of from Nile to Euphrates, This is a claim that it's all a claim. But now this matter is being discussed seriously, and they have mentioned the names of the Arab countries that must be annexed to Israel. Talking about this axis and talking about these statements, in this part of the world, we have friends here in this part of the world, in this region, and these things will lead the countries to the border of a threat, a real threat, that is against the peace and stability in our region. We need before than any other time to be together and to stand firm against these Israeli movement that aims at hit the stability in the region. We need to cooperate more.
وقت شما بخیر باشه. آقای عراقچی حداقل در دو مصاحبه اخیرشون یکی با آرتی و یکی
Dr. Araghchi,
سی بی اس به این موضوع اشاره کردن که
during
توافقی
his
بهتر از توافق 2015 و توافق برجام با واشنگتن
TV interview has pointed out that there is a possibility or probability to reach a better agreement than the one signed in 2015. I know there are something that you cannot talk about, but what are the characteristics that made this one better than the one signed in 2015, and what will lead America to accept this? Our job here as a diplomatic side in Iran is to protect the interests of the Iranian people. And according to this rule, any understanding or any agreement that can be accepted by us must put in mind the national interests when it comes to the nuclear program or lifting the sanctions. And it's important to see the other side understanding such a conclusion. The nuclear program, despite all the lies that have been produced during the last 2 years, is still a peaceful nuclear program. If the other side wants to eliminate all the problems regarding the nuclear program of Iran, they can do that. They must understand that there must not be any deviation in this matter. It must be under the control of the Atomic News Agency, and it's important to make everything clear. Iran doesn't want a nuclear weapon. The program of Iran is a peaceful program.
Could you please elaborate on this written proposal that you are going to submit to the U.S. delegation in your next meeting? And could you also please tell us what will happen if the U.S. strikes, as it has been reported, as a limited strike, as the U.S. president has mentioned it? Will you keep negotiating with the U.S. or you will leave the negotiating table?
Does it make sense? Does it make sense when
Does this
you come
make
under
sense?
an egregious act of aggression, you continue negotiating? I think they are mutually exclusive. And with respect to your first question concerning the limited strike, I think there is no limited strike. An act of aggression would be regarded as an act of aggression, period. And any state would react to an act of aggression as part of its inherent right of self-defense ferociously. So that's what we would do. Regarding the elements of any deal or agreement, whatever you may call it at the end of the day, I think it's quite clear. The main part of such deal would consist of sanctions termination, which must be implemented, must be undertaken by the United States. And on the other side, there would be certain clear measures on the part of Iran to make sure that Iran's nuclear program would never be weaponized. I think these are the main two elements of any deal that can be considered by both sides. بفرمایید.
خدا قوت آقای سخنگو. با توجه به توصیه چند تا کشور توی این روزها و هفته‌های اخیر
Regarding what has been offered and proposed by some countries who asked their citizens to leave Iran, and is this an escalation between these countries and Iran? What is your message in this connection? Regarding these worries, as you can see and as you can understand, during the last 24 hours, there is a sort of a psychological war and a media war, and there is an atmosphere that is systematically against Iran, and they are creating this sort of a case in a way that is not suitable at all. Journalists who came to Iran, journalists who visit Iran know that life in Iran goes as normal. Yes, it's a psychological war against the Iranian people, but those countries have understood now that we need to be fully aware in facing this psychological war, and we will never be under their impact. And those who left the country, those who traveled outside Iran, all right, this is normal. We cannot say that they are leaving because they are very worried. As mentioned by some colleagues who spoke about the possibility of reaching an agreement that is better than the previous one with the US, and that could be for the sake and for the benefits of Iran. You also have the experience of the European silence and the European failure to commit themselves to their pledges. Do you think that this matter is a sort of a directing some answers towards Europe and the European countries? We look and we understand and we investigate our national interests in Iran, and accordingly we can think of so many other directions. We need to achieve everything for the benefit of our people.
با توجه به اینکه در اظهارات اخیر خانم نانسی پلوسی صراحتاً بر اعلام و لزوم وارد کردن فشار
When it
اقتصادی
comes to the statements of Nancy Pelosi, the recent statement of Nancy Pelosi asking for more sanctions against Iran and on Iran, how can you understand these statements? This is undoubtedly the reason behind imposing some sanctions against Iran. These statements and other statements, and before they said the sanctions are imposed to help the Iranian people, but during the recent years and openly and flatly, they spoke and they talk about the aim. The aim in this case is to put the Iranian citizens under pressure in all dimensions.
اعتراض بکنن.
But they will never be able to push the people to object the regime in Iran. And we must understand that America is responsible for so many things. America is committing and is contradicting the basic laws of human rights and the rights to live, the rights to work, the rights to say, the freedom of speech. All these rights are being contradicted by the U.S. administration. And as a result, these sanctions are against the human rights. This must be understood. What about moving?
You have been listening to the spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry addressing the current negotiations between the U.S. and Iran under the threat of U.S. military strikes. The spokesperson reiterated that the U.S. cannot impose its will on Iran and that Iran's nuclear program is and always has been peaceful in his telling. Now, he did outline very roughly what a deal might look like. In his explanation, Iran would provide guarantees that it could not have a pathway to a nuclear weapon in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions that currently depress Iran's economy. To discuss this, Ali Akbar Durrani is back with us from Tehran. Ali, you're a researcher at the Center for Strategic Studies, an Iranian think tank. Thank you for your time. I was asking you earlier about what kind of deal you think might work for both the U.S. and Iran in order to avoid a war, and you said Trump will want to show that he got more concessions out of Iran than Obama did in 2015. What do you think that might look like?
Well, Iran has shown that it could be open to providing economic incentives to the United States under a nuclear deal in return for the lifting of sanctions. What does it mean? It means that the Trump administration can benefit hugely in terms of economic incentives, hundreds of billions of dollars through oil, gas, and mining sector projects, in addition to Iran accepting limitations on its nuclear program in return for the lifting of sanctions. So that provides incentives to the Trump administration to catch it and reach a deal acceptable both to Iran and the United States. That's the way. But
Ali, can I ask you a question about that? Because
no,
this is an idea that's been floated recently. But if the U.S. or U.S. companies were to invest in Iranian oil and gas or mining, the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, have significant ownership and economic interests in those sectors of the Iranian economy. They, of course, are branded and targeted and labeled a terrorist group by the United States. So you see the immediate clash there. The U.S. couldn't, whether directly or indirectly, be doing any kind of business with the IRGC. You see the limitation there.
It's the U.S. problem, not the Iranian problem. If they are willing to take it, Iran allows them to do so, engage in such projects, no matter the IRGC is involved in that or no, like other foreign companies that are in deals with Iran. It's up to the Americans as long as if they are interested in operating in those projects, there will be no limitations from the Iranian side. And this is going also to help Iran economically. That's why Iran could be willing to such a deal, but no security concessions, no missiles, no allies, and no zero enrichment.
And while we're talking about concessions, the spokesperson for the Iranian Foreign Ministry was saying that on Iran's side, they could potentially accept a deal where they prove that they have no credible pathway to ever building a nuclear bomb, which is what Donald Trump wants. But that could mean potentially, leaving only a minute portion of its nuclear enrichment, the portion that targets only medical research and medical isotopes, which Iran has been working on for decades. It's very, very different from the nuclear infrastructure that Iran currently has that provides civilian energy.
Iran will not give up its uranium enrichment program. It will preserve it. But it is open to accepting limitations on the scope of its nuclear program. That can happen. We don't know the details. Discussions will be ongoing, and we cannot predict how exactly this is going to work out. Still, we have a long way to go before we can come up with a clear idea where the two sides stand, or what sort of limitations Iran will accept and how the sanctions are going to be lifted. We have a long way to go.
Yeah, Ali Akbar Durrani, thank you very much. You're, of course, absolutely right that for the moment we don't have any details. We don't know if a deal will be made. And much of this is speculative, but we engage in these scenarios because of the stakes and what's at stake here. And all of this is happening under the threat of direct U.S. military action against Iran. The two countries once again supposed to meet. It would be the third round of discussions in Geneva. That's supposed to happen on Thursday for indirect talks. Ali Akbar Durrani, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.